Welcome back to the Arbitrage.Run show on YouTube. It's been a while, Kevin. We've been twitching our heads off over on Twitch with Legends League. It's probably been what 3 months since we've done a YouTube show.
It's been a minute. Yeah, I'm gonna miss not having chat for this one, but yeah, we'll be back 1 week from, I guess, today, right?
We will, yes. We're going to dive in on this show on odds. That's why we decided to do a YouTube show. We should have done it out in Arizona together. Really, we just got back from Arizona a couple days ago. We did not win the 250,000. I know everyone's surprised. Kevin wins everything, but Christian McCaffrey killed us.
Yeah, it should have been a sign he was staying at our hotel.
He was. I don't know how we didn't at least
We
put
should have
one
listened.
49er in there.
Yeah, it was tough.
So yeah, it was fun though. It was fun, and Kevin kicked my ass in pickleball. My body is like, it really hurts, man. My back is hurting. My hip is hurting. I'm gonna be in better shape next time that we play. I'm gonna win a game off you.
All right, can't wait.
Yeah, it's my goal in life. So anyway, odds are back on sportsbet.io. We want to talk about that, kind of get all of your thoughts on it, Kevin, takeaways from the first like 3 days of odds. And then we got the monthly Maiden that was announced. We don't have a whole lot of details, but we're pretty excited about that coming back. And then also we wanted to mention off the top here that we will be over on Twitch next Thursday. We pushed off the relegation races, but there's 3 relegation races. The bottom 3 finishers in those relegation races, including some scores from the regular season. It's like 2 times points for the relegation races. Anyway, the bottom 3 in each funnel are getting relegated. We're going to make fun of those horses and those stables, potentially ourselves, because Evergreen is in one of those races. That'll be 7:45 Eastern time next Thursday in the U.S. Over on Twitch.
Yep, should be fun. You know, Evergreen's not afraid to come in last, so I am a little worried. It's the nature of the U, but should be a fun time.
We lost Verve last season in relegation, so she's coming back for the qualifiers. We're also going to have the qualifying races. People have been asking. Those are going to run earlier in the day before the relegation races, so we can kind of break down and congratulate the 3 new horses that are going to be joining season 3 of Legends League. Again, our Twitch is Arbitrage.Run. I keep forgetting it. Twitch.tv/Arbitrage.Run. So you can go over there and follow us if you don't have an account. If you want notifications, you can turn notifications on your phone, and when we start streaming, you can pop in there. You don't want to miss it because we're giving away a bunch of horses. We've been giving away horses to like the same 30 to 40 people for the past, 4 months, Kevin.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just saying that the whoever joined first last time actually won the first giveaway. Maybe not the driver of it, but it did happen.
There's an advantage too because we do play wagering every week, and we give away 2 unraced horses to the first 2 finishers in our play wagering on the races that we're streaming. And you get extra ARB token that you play wager with if you get in early. The longer you're in there, the more token you generate. So it's pretty fun. Everybody seems to enjoy it. And then we do 3 raffles each week. We give away 3 horses. Southern Farm was the sponsor, unofficial sponsor. He didn't want any credit, but he has sponsored the first 2 seasons of Legend League and donated like 22 like awesome legendary breeds. So thanks again to Vega.
Absolutely. Yeah. What a guy.
Okay. I think that's everything. We've hit all the bases here. So please join us over on Twitch, follow us there, subscribe and like this. We'll try to put out some more YouTube content. I don't know if Twitch cares if we like put clips from our streams over on YouTube, but we're probably small enough that they don't.
I don't even think they know we exist, so I think we're fine.
So maybe we'll start uploading some stuff there. So anyway, Kevin's got a hard stop in 40 minutes. So we're going to try to smash as much content in here as we can. Off of the bat, Kevin, so odds, they launched, I don't know what day it was. The days are all mixed up for me. Was it Monday?
We'll call it Monday, yeah, 3 days ago.
Yeah, so we're recording this on Thursday in the US, Thursday afternoon. So what's your what are your major takeaways from the first 3 days of odds? How are you liking it?
I mean, it's been a blast kind of having it back and going through discovery all over again. It is a little bit of a grind trying to time the pop checking the betting website because it's only up there, I don't know, 4 minutes, right? For like 4 minutes, and as soon as the race starts, it goes off. And as of right now, there's no archiving of the odds. But I mean, it's been awesome getting more insights on kind of horses we had forgotten about, had given up on, or even just confirmation of horses we thought were killers. But seeing the odds just hits different.
Yeah, and we should give a pro tip here that we just found out today. And funny enough, Keith from Crimson Racing, who has like totally written off Zed, I just reeled him back in to test some of our joint horses in Class 2 and Class 3 and test their odds. But he tipped me off that over on Zedge there is like a stable, I don't, what would you call it? Stable tracker?
Stable tool, yeah.
Yeah, there's a tool, and you can set notifications on and just have that window open, and it'll give you an alert every time that your race gets scheduled for your stable, and then you can hop over and look at the odds. So we're going to be using that a lot. I mean, I've been just refreshing the page, so that'll save me a little bit of time.
Yeah, the audible alerts are huge. But yeah, shout out to Keith. He's still got some tricks up his sleeve.
He does, and thank you to Shady Lane and On Chain Racing over at the Zedge for putting those awesome free tools out. Lot of value that they bring to the community, and they got a tournament coming up too, right?
They do. I'm not sure exactly when it's running, but I know we're gonna have a couple horses in there. I think Vega's got a couple giveaway horses as well. Zed is putting like 40,000 Zed token in there. So it should be pretty juiced and a lot of fun. They have custom skins too. So once again, utilizing that feature, and they look pretty cool. So it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So well, yeah, we don't have a ton of details on that, but make sure you're following Shady out on Twitter. I'm sure he'll put the info out there, and Zed will too. They'll be promoting it, so don't miss it. Yeah, so we haven't had a whole lot to talk about in Zed since Sit and Go's launch. So this, the odds coming out, it's definitely been fun, and I think it brings back an aspect of immediate gratification that we just haven't had in so long, right?
Yeah, it really does. There was not a ton of sweat. Like once you figured out the level of your horse, it was just you kind of knew who
The
was going to get
grind.
flames every time. It was the same races every time. Um, there wasn't a lot to it. It was just kind of farm the ETH you could, or try to qualify for the tournament and wait for the sweat on Sunday nights. But now it's a lot more immediate and a lot more varying each time.
Yeah, and I think it may take a little bit of time, but I think that there's um, a real positive to this in that. Well, I mean, I can see both sides, right? That like when we're going to discuss some negatives that people have potentially identified with this, but we had a lot of really low level horses that we just wrote off after the maiden, right? And they didn't like really impress us, and it's like it's a 414. I'm not going to waste the time racing this. We got a 500 over here, and it turns out the 414 is pulling like insane odds against the 500, right? And we didn't pay much attention to those low level horses. We had just written them off because we assumed that they didn't stand a chance. But I mean, we discovered, and actually we just read this one, but we discovered some others. But Ray Del Marajo is pulling like what 5 odds in a lot of these races.
Yeah, it's like a 425 or
420, yeah,
something crazy. Yeah, and it's
sorry, even
actually
lower.
flaming a little bit. So I like to think we would have figured that out. I was a beast, even
Maybe
without
I'm
it.
not sure.
Yeah, but there's some. Yeah, there's others like what was it? Like one of Twisted's kids, and some of the Newton ones that are like 415. They're not flaming, but it's only because it's lacking 85 levels of base ability or whatever. But the odds are still always first or second best in the race. So yeah, those are insights that I guess you would get eventually if you were actually like not distracted by higher level horses like we were. But really good insights from odds.
Yeah, and I mean, I haven't. You've probably dove in deeper than me, but I've been impressed with a lot of the 2.0 and 3.0 horses that we didn't. I mean, we know they can't have as much variance as 1.0s, but they're pulling some really good odds in a lot of these races. And of course, they're not against Festus, and I don't want to say not against Diamonds because I haven't looked at those fields that much, and I know Diamonds isn't like dominating those midfields. But I mean, it gives a little bit more hope. I mean, I know we don't like the way that breeding is structured, right? There's a lot of things that we would change about it, but I think there's a little bit more upside, and we've probably been saying this for a while, right? That then everybody kind of gave it because we couldn't see the odds, right?
Yeah, and I bet like if you had an odds pull on like 6 gate races, you would see the gap close even more. Where some of those beastly like maxed out variance 3.0 horses probably have closer to like the optimal win equity type variance for 6 gate. So this is 12. This should advantage the highest variance possible. It really does, but there's probably I don't know, 50 horses in the game that are like broken on the variance side of things. And then outside of those, if you get a race without them, then yeah, you are playing the game kind of how it was meant to be designed, I think, by Facundo. And I don't know if it's too early to segue into your tweet, but that may be what you were getting at, where like, did Facundo actually design a decent game and he just needed odds to kind of bring it to light?
Yeah, I mean, I was trolling a little bit. It was a little bit of clickbait, right? I think there's more truth to it than most people will give it. But I think Facundo himself, like, I don't know that he should have told me the stuff that he did, but he essentially told me that breeding was broken. Like, he didn't realize, he didn't design it himself, and there's things that he would have changed, and they didn't have the resources to just flip the switch and change it. So it's like he was well aware of the inadequacies of the game and their team. So I guess that's why I'm a little bit positively skewed towards Facundo. But obviously, there's things that we would have designed different about the game too. We could talk about leveling a little bit later in the show. I mean, we can keep talking about how we're going to talk about stuff later and then never have time. But yes, that's kind of what I was alluding to. The game is what the game was missing was fun. Odds are fun. There's still we would tweak breeding and bring a little bit more upside there, right? But it's way better. It's a way better game with odds. I don't know if this luster will kind of fade right after we've rediscovered a lot of these horses in our stable, but I like to think that it is going to kind of boost breeding a little bit because you get that rush that we had way back when there were odds, right? Like you run this horse in your maiden race, you could throw it into a less 100 race and then get all kinds of information. And then throw it in the garbage, right? or
Mhm.
or level it up, run it in the maiden, get your free maiden money, hopefully. And it's just a different game now, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not a big fan of the leveling system as it's designed, right? And all horses kind of ending up at the same level if you invest enough. But the benefit of that is if you discover the horse the right way and you're running it where it should be run, there's going to be a place where you're going to get either very good odds to win or very good odds to place if you're running in the right spot. Or you're doing like a double up where you would see it correlated with odds to place, but it might be more in the top six equity. So like there's very few worthless horses if you're willing to invest into it. So I think that part was good. And one thing we've been doing a lot more, and a reason why I feel like I think the leveling system's much more broken than maybe an average user, if that's possible, is we are just almost, well, at least for a while, almost entirely class one horses. At least that's where we like make our bread and butter, and that's where the leveling piece is just largely like unplayable in some aspects, right? You either have to completely optimize the racing strategy, always have XP boosts in just to try to keep up, or you'll fall behind. Whereas we've now recently started just embracing like the C2, the C3 type horses, where like it's nice to have a level advantage, but there's not that big of a difference in a 490 and a 450, and maybe you slap a few XP boosts on it, but they catch up pretty quick, and it's no longer feeling like a grind, like we have to max out the number of races, we have to run perfectly optimal because you're racing against a bunch of horses that are similar. And then when it's all 3.0s versus 3.0s, breeding the inadequacies of that are kind of taken out of the equation. It just feels like a much better game down in C2, especially in these less than 100 type races.
Yeah, well, it's really a tough needle to thread. And I don't want to come on and say, there needs to be more class one incentives as the people with a bunch of really good class one horses. But really, like, we need that. I don't know how that happens, though, right? Like, there's only so it's one of those like age-long questions of an economy and like where is the right balance, right? But it seems off to me personally, right? It's like, why are we going to play in class one where we have to boost and we have to commit all this money? We still do, right? Because we do well in the maidens. It's just it's not as fun, right? And then odds aren't as fun either because you got a new breed. You can't just throw it into a less than 100 class one race because you're going already up against some level 600 horses. You're not getting the same kind of information that you get down in class two, where you can throw a 414 with good variance into one of those open races or less than 100 race, right? More likely, and see, whoa, I got 5 odds. Like, it's just a different game down there. So, but if you increase those incentives, then it makes it a little bit easier. It's like, yeah, I have to grind, but there's a lot of money in it, right?
You kind of need a stimmy up there now because, like you're saying, we don't even play really past 100 races in Class One at the moment as it's designed. We play with the 1.0 horses that are already highly leveled, but for anything newly bred, we do the maiden. We boost it for that. We do sit and goes to get it to like 560 maybe, and then we do the less than 100 races, and then after that, if you go to less than 250, you're forced to race against like 650 plus. And I don't care how optimal you run those first 100, you're probably going to be like low 600s at best. So at that point, we're not going to keep boosting that horse just to lose money in the short
Go over
term.
to
We'll
sit
just,
and goes, which aren't
yeah,
the format for most of those horses.
right.
And
So
yeah,
we'll just move on to a newer horse and just kind of, we're going to have a huge log jam of horses at that like 600 level with 101 races.
it's the
Where
way
you
we
just
play
don't,
the game.
yeah,
Because, eventually we hope that there's a use for them, right? And usually there is down the road if the game lasts long enough, right? Things are going to have to change. The meta's going to change. And they were
exactly.
like,
Like,
oh, we got 50 of these horses that are great now.
that's one thing I've learned a lot, like in the last 2 years with Zed is like run your horses or run the horses that like the meta is trying to get you to run currently, and don't waste your time um, on like negative EB type scenarios, like running your 101 race horse up to level 650. Because as soon as you invest all that time, and we've done this in the past, you invest all this time, all these resources, and then they change the game on you like that. So just like don't try to go in that direction. Just bench it, wait for the game to come back to you. Like even like the less than 500s, right? Like, that's a good example where they took it away for 3 weeks. You didn't know if it was going to come back, but we just parked all those horses, and sure enough, the game came back, and now we can still run those less than 500s, right? Don't force it when you don't have to, if you have other options to play.
Yeah, you said something to me when we were in Arizona, and I don't know if it was in regards to playing pickleball or DraftKings Rainmakers or what it was, but it applies to everything. And you said there's an optimal way to do everything. And that, I mean, it's kind of stuck in my head. I was saying it to my wife earlier. Yeah, I was like, Kevin said this to me, and it's like, it just applies to like everything I'm trying to focus on in life right now, not just games, but there is like, and if you have your ego in check, like you do, Kevin, and you have this like mental flexibility, it's much easier to see those paths to optimization. And that's what I appreciate so much about you is like you're able to just shift and see like how to optimize, and there's no like attachment to previous viewpoints and stuff like that. So not to jerk Kevin off too much on this show, but I
Yeah,
agree. Yeah,
yeah.
that's what you're saying essentially.
I kind of enjoy tilt, right? Because I know if I'm feeling tilt, then I know other people are feeling it, and that gives opportunity. Like as a competitor, if I'm just less impact or less tilted and can find strategies quicker than the competition, then I have an advantage, right? So I always view it as an opportunity more than I'm getting screwed.
Yeah, and I think that there's something about that kind of mindset and that viewpoint. Like if you let your emotions come in and you get into this negative space and like your brain, it doesn't operate as well, So like if you're able to stay calm and look at it in a positive way, like you see things differently. So anyway, not to get too far into our philosophical Zed journey here, let's get back to the odds and let's see. Oh, I wanted to ask you, well, two questions here. How accurate do you think these odds are? And how are you utilizing the place odds? Because I know me as a degenerate, I'm just like focusing on win odds. That's all that matters. And I know that you're looking like pretty closely at the place odds in each race, right?
Yeah, we could almost have a whole like odds interpretation episode of this. I'm still learning as well, right? We're only 3 days into this, but I'm putting a lot of trust into what I'm reading with the odds in terms of like I think they're basically like the old odds where they are exactly what the 1,000 sims or whatever would tell you that the outcomes would be. And I've tried to check it. You can't do it as well with the odds to win, but if you look at the odds to place, right, that's top three, which should correlate very closely with the three horses getting flames. If you look at the three horses with the best odds to place on the site, I'd say probably if there's three horses per race with flames, I'd say 99 out of 100 match like the top three that IO would say is the best odds to place. So I'm putting a lot of faith in it with that. I'm imagining that just also applies to odds to win. I'm sure there's still some minor variance. Sometimes it's just super close, and the fields kind of can tweak whether or not, I don't know, Shadow for Days, right, comes out on top versus Conky Dong. But I put a lot of faith into it, and I look into both. You can also do some interpretation looking at the relationship between odds to win and odds to place, and almost create some kind of like variance calculation, right? Like I like to figure out, okay, this is saying that Ready Set Boom's going to come in the top three 30% of the time, but its odds to win are like 7-1. So if it's going to win 15% of the time, then I know half of its podium equity is on the win side. So that's a pretty good ratio to tell me it's got a lot of U to it, or at least some variance. Whereas if you look at a horse that is going to A shape a little bit, you'll see it have 40% podium equity, but it'll be like 15-1 on the odds to win. So it's only like 10% of its podium equity is on the winning side. So you can start to learn some variance indicators off of the relationship between the two as well.
Yeah, and one thing that I just thought of is this you don't get much information for stability double up horses, right? It leaves a lot of mystery in that department still, right? If you're breeding for stability and trying to compete in that area, which they have brought back, which I do think is a positive, and they do seem to be filling. I guess that's one good thing as we get into talking about. Well, did you want to say anything else on the place odds or accuracy before we move?
No, I trust it. I think eventually they'll have more odds, right? Like double up should have the top 6 odds, things like that. But for how it's used, and with like sports bet, the players betting on sports bet probably don't have any idea what they're actually betting on. So I think adding too many complexities that in terms they're not familiar with would not be a good business decision. So I think we're a long way from getting anything else.
Yeah, well, Vegas probably out there gambling on it. He's in
True.
like one of the few people. I think him and Grand Cru, Henri, and there's a few other people in Asia.
Yeah.
Heroines in Asia, so they're the lucky ones that get to play on sports bet. But we still get to see
Yep.
the odds at least. And I'm sure that I know that there was a kind of some drama that the UK can't see the odds, but shit, just throw it on VPN. You can see the odds. I don't know if you want to risk actually trying to gamble it on VPN because I think you can, but I don't know if they'll let you withdraw is the thing. So
Yeah, you have to
not financial advice.
you have to KYC before you withdraw, I think. So yeah, I fully agree there. Just use it to get the odds, but don't do anything too risky there.
What Dan suggested, once you KYC, just get out your Guatemala ID and you'll be good. So yeah, Dan Chan.
Dan's your guy for that.
Yeah, maybe he could start a business creating fake IDs for sports bet KYC.
I wouldn't put it past him. That guy's got a business for everything.
He's savvy. Okay, so talking more about odds. Well, and speaking of Dan, so he brought up there's a couple negatives that I've seen brought up, right? And like we know that they're pretty accurate, right? You knew pretty quick. Dan knew pretty quick. You can kind of just tell that like, hey, there's not any like really wacky things going on in a lot of these races, and we've seen enough of them. So his concern is that there's too much information and people are just going to stop racing their fringe horses because they see the bad odds and just kick them to the curb. And then eventually, right, it's all like there's no horses above. Everyone's pulling like 9, 10 odds in the race. And I guess it would probably be closer to like 11, 12 if that did happen. I don't know that. I mean, I'm sure that's going to happen to a certain degree, right? Are you concerned? Do you think that that's the way that this is gonna like fully go and kind of destroy race volume in the game? I'm not sure
I
if
mean,
that's what he's saying, to be honest. I just
yeah, I can see it going that direction. Like eventually, especially if they become super readily available and archived, kind of like your horses used to do. But I mean, I still think as long as Zed's model is around tournament qualification and there's that overlay at the end of the week each time, that people are going to be willing to run at like slightly
makes the math a
suboptimal
little bit
odds.
fuzzy, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that'll help. I also think with the nature, especially in the lower classes, of like less than 100 race bands, those races, you're going to have a constant flow of new horses cycling in and out to where it'll become more optimal than it is right now when everybody's just testing their horses. But if we fix breeding and it's exciting again, you're going to have that cycle happening a lot quicker and a lot more. I don't know. Kind of, you won't have the same field over and over and over again. So I'm not as worried about it. in those lower segments. I think it'll definitely happen if they stop subsidizing like class one, especially the ungated, just the open class one. That would just dry up immediately, because people are very aware when they're not like running at a positive ROI. And if you take the overlay out, it's just going to become cut and dry.
Yeah, I mean, it's already happened to a certain degree there because the prize pools have been cut so much. It's like I find it questionable at times if we should be using our races. But like you said, take the money while it's there, right? We'll figure out something later.
Exactly. If I wasn't, I think I'm more worried that the horses just aren't able to be run anymore than like I think there's just a case where they would just, I don't know. We talking about it later on about like how I'd fix Zed like going forward?
I think we got like 18 minutes left. So hopefully, maybe we can do a whole nother show on it for the new CEO, like here, and then just have it
Yeah.
like hand delivered by somebody over there. We can maybe try to touch on it if we have time. But yeah, I know. I mean, breeding is like you've been saying it since January, right? It's the most broken part of the game. They've acknowledged that. I mean, I know Ryan came out and said they're working on it like several times, but the vibe that I get just looking at the whole picture and being like so in the weeds on Zed is that there's a new CEO and everything's just put on hold, and he's going to give the prognosis on how fucked this game actually is and if it can be saved and how. So he's probably got his work cut out for him and doesn't want to have to deal with the scrutiny of the community, which I can understand, right?
It cracks me up like the pitchforkers out there like wanting his name like on a platter, like just why would they announce it before he has like a proper onboarding to the game? You're kind of proving them correct by staging this uproar, just demanding that they have a new CEO. Like, have they announced they have one, right? Like they have
They
announced
did
that.
announce, yeah, yeah, but it was after people already knew, right? And so it was like kind of, they would like it feels like they wouldn't have unless people found out. Which
Yeah,
I get it to a certain degree, right? Obviously, we see both sides, right? Like you're running a business, it shouldn't be a secret, right? But I also see why it is because of exactly what you're talking about, right?
yeah. I mean, maybe you introduce the person, and then they should just say like, "All right, now you know all you need to know. I'm going to actually learn the game inside and out, like some prior leaders may not have before making decisions." Um, like I take it as a positive sign that they're doing the due diligence on the game. I think a next step would be like, what was it Zombie mentioned, doing some kind of council who could even like educate the new leadership on things. I think that's where they've gone wrong in the past, not taking enough of what the community who's lived and breathed this game for 2+ years now, get their opinion before you make any game altering decisions. I think we would have avoided a lot of the missteps in the past if they had done that. So I'm optimistic that some of this more like cautious approach is going to lead to some of that.
Yeah, hopefully. Anyway, we'll see if we can get to your solves for. I mean, the main things that you've identified are leveling too much. It's like a negative feedback loop. Seeing those levels, and I think the idea of TRV kind of. I don't know if people are familiar with the Red Village, but as you fight your champions more, you narrow in on what level your guy is in their different attributes and it never actually tells you. So it's like there's much more discovery and mystery to it, and you don't just immediately see this is a 402. Let's screw this horse and trash it. It's just a really bad user experience. So that levels is the number one thing that you want to talk about, and then breeding we've talked a lot about, but yeah, breeding is broken, and so you got fixes for that. But we don't
Yep.
want to dive too far in on that yet, do we?
I'll give a couple minutes. I mean, and
Okay.
what I was tying it back to like why we're
We'll come
racing
back to odds. We'll finish with odds more.
yeah, tying it back to like why I wanted us to race the 1.0s currently is like the only I view levels, especially in class one and the endless grind, as unsustainable and not something they can do long term in the game if it's going to work. But the toothpaste is kind of out of the tube as it is with levels, right? Like we know what every horse is. I guess you could, in theory, like reset all the grinding, but like the most easy way that I see a fix, and it's probably a little, I don't know, contrarian or controversial, is if you just literally reset the horses, right? Like if you, the only way to get rid of levels and people not have an advantage of already seeing a horse's level is actually reset the horses. And you could even do it in a tasteful way where you do it based off of maybe the XP earned that the horse did or whatever starting level and correlate it back to that. But so much of this game would be fixed if they could just get rid of the 1.0 outliers and variants, um, get rid of the just endless amount of leveling you can do that makes all horses equal. So my fix would be basically some kind of reset. Do it in a way that people don't pitchfork you, whether that's like 6 months of notice, whether it's indexed to how much XP has been earned or the starting level of the horse. I think there's a way you could do it that people would realize, okay, this is leading to a better game coming out of it. So we're willing to sacrifice having the best horse in a worthless game instead of having a good horse in a really projectable game.
Yeah, it's tough, right? They've already done one great reset before the big boom in crypto. It was like late 2020, which a lot
Yep.
of people, I mean, I'd say majority of the people that were there for that are gone by this time. And they said they would never do that again, right? So you're kind of going back on that, but the game is like so far gone, right? It's like that probably is the easiest path. And I mean, if you're saying that you're on board with that,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that there's going to be a handful of people that would could be completely outraged and again talk about suing Zed, right? For another time for another reason. But yeah, I mean, I can get on board with that for the greater good too. There's
Yeah.
probably other ways to do it, like you said, that don't totally screw the people that have put the time in or put the money in to buy those other horses. But like we've always said on this show, we can get behind ideas that aren't good for us, like in the short term or at first glance, because we know that a rising tide raises all ships. And it's way better for us for Zed to succeed. And everyone in the game should be looking at it that way and take on that kind of viewpoint. I like what you're saying though. Like if it was like an either or in this kind of re-roll that you're talking about, this second great reset, and if it like there was like a multiplier and it was like you get the higher of either your starting level times this multiplier or your XP gained divided by whatever times this multiplier, and spits out those two numbers and you get the higher whatever. So the people that had a really good Genesis starting level horse that they paid a lot for and didn't grind any XP at all is still, generating good chance at getting a good horse, right? You don't know, it's not guaranteed. It's just,
Sure.
yeah,
That's the whole point of the
chance.
reset. Yeah, like you have that, and then there's some range, but it never tells you the level. Instead, you're gonna have odds, I guess, if they're keeping this going forward, which makes discovery much easier. And then you can still have elements of like the XP economy. Like I don't mind it. I don't like the part that makes all horses equal at the end of it, which turns it into a grind fest, right? If you and that also devalues breeding and starting level there. So if you had some kind of system where you're not telling the horse or the owner what the horse's starting level is, but it has a starting level, and then you can actually layer on some XPs as you race to get it up like 25 or 50 levels from that, which it never tells you. Then you have some like horse improvement, but your starting level still matters, right? So breeding matters. And I don't know, I just think it makes a lot of sense, but it's better served in the background where you don't actually see the level. So there's a little more mystery. You can do more interpretation of odds, however you want to do it.
Yeah, and let me just kind of clarify what you said here because it's like this is all so complicated if you're not like super in the weeds and you haven't been playing Zed for like going on 3 years now. When you say all equal, all horses equal, not literally equal level, right at the top, there's still some discrepancy, but you're just talking about like all equal level, like all horses shouldn't be reaching that same level, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So basically, if you put enough XP on a horse, we don't care if it has everything else the same. If it's a level 500 or a level 550 coming out, they're going to end up as the same type of horse. It's kind of like Keith's Crimson Chin argument, where among other things, like Crimson Chin has been lapped because of inactivity, and it doesn't even like seem to matter that it is the naturally best sprinter in the game because it has not been raced in a long time.
Yeah, well, yeah, among other things, which we've already discussed on previous shows, so we won't get on the weird distance preference things.
No.
Yeah, we've got there's just so much history to this game and depth to it
But
once
yeah,
you
so
really get
if
into it.
if we were gonna do like the reset, there's so many levers they can pull. Like if you just give a bunch of notice, like give 3 months, 6 months notice of like, here's our plan. Nothing's gonna change with the value of your horse until this point, and here's why we're changing things. Right? That helps because we don't ever get notice in this game. they could even frame it as them coming out of beta. And then you could also reward the activity of like all the XP earned by having, I don't know, if they ever bring back Catalyst, right? You could do something that ties XP earned to amount of catalysts earned, or burn your stable XP for catalysts. That gives you an advantage to the players who've invested the most in a previous game. Give them an advantage in the new game, right? I think if it gets to that point where they need to make a switch like this, people will be reasonable enough if given that much of a head start, and if the community has input in the direction the game is going, to where everybody's bought in, or most people are bought in on the direction. In the past, we just had none of that. So of course there's going to be an uproar.
Right. Notice is the thing that's always been missing. Notice and communication. We all know it. Yeah, and you can't make everybody happy, right? But you can do your best, right?
That's
We
right.
all just want some transparency, really. So yes, I think that paired with, you know, breeding, logical breeding, which Keith has always been saying, right? It doesn't make sense that you can't breed generations down better because of being capped by legendary, exclusive, elite. All my elites are going to be in class 3 or 4. Like, well, I've got this great bloodline that I stacked all of these great genetics into, and now I'm guaranteed a class 3 horse that can never get out of there. And yeah, it doesn't make sense as a breeding game if that's what we want it to be, which I think that's what everybody was addicted to. It makes much more sense that way, right?
Yeah, that's the logical next step. I know that will take a lot of science in building the new breeding setup. So I almost hope they just like get the game as the direction they want to go, and then build the breeding to like best fit that game. Stop doing things in silos like they've been doing for so long in this company. Like, have a cohesive vision, and then build each component to reach the same finish line, which they just have not done. Maybe the new CEO will listen to this, and I mean, I think that's should be a given for a CEO, is like have company alignment, all like one common vision. So I'm optimistic they did their hiring correct and have a good leader in house.
Fingers crossed. This could be the last chance for for
I
Zed,
think so.
but
Yeah.
it really does feel like with odds, like a corner has been turned to me. We'll see if that we can keep this momentum rolling and see where it goes from here. But the monthly maiden was the other thing we wanted to talk about. So let's just highlight that real quick, and then if we have time, we'll come back to some final thoughts on odds. The monthly maiden, like, I think that's a huge boon to the economy in general. Like, nobody likes the weekly maiden. It's stupid. We all said that from the start. Like, I get what they're trying to do, but in a game where you've sapped all of the fun out of it and it's complete grind, and then you just take away that last piece, it was so frustrating at the time. And I'm glad that they've finally seen the light. Hopefully it's here to stay, right? But monthly maiden, awesome, right, Kevin?
It was such like a disconnected decision to go to weekly meetings, because I mean you can see exactly how it would play out, right? Like, an investor comes in, they see this large influx of money at only one time or 1 week a month, and they want to smooth that out. But the game just does it. Like, the game is played on a monthly reset of breeding, so it was very misaligned to have 4 mini tournaments instead of the only grand tournament they had left in the game. So I'm happy they've gone back to it. That enables us to, I don't know if we're officially launching the Zombie Maiden coming back, but it does feel like it's on the horizon, which we'll get a little more specifics on the ZED Maidens, maybe in February. But it enables content creators to host more grand events alongside it, whereas a weekly just doesn't let that happen.
Yeah, I'd say officially, unofficially, we're bringing it back. We don't know what it's going to look like. So, I mean, if Zed takes our format, awesome. It was a great format. I don't know if they're able to do everything that we were doing, but we can adapt something else fun to go with it too if they do. So, we'll be creative and flexible, whatever happens. And yeah, just excited that it's coming back. You know, like, that brings breeding value, and when you pair that with odds, it's like, these are the best two things that we've had in like all year.
Yep.
So yes, stay tuned for more on the monthly maiden and the zombie arbitrage maiden, of course. Yeah, I don't know. Do you want to talk any more about how the monthly maiden could positively affect the ecosystem in the short term, midterm, long term, breeding values, horse values, that kind of stuff? Total blind, optimistic speculation.
I mean, I think the obvious piece is it's a bigger event, which in some aspects it'll concentrate some of the payouts to the winner of a monthly maiden. But I think if they design it in a way, I don't know, that's what's going to be curious is how do they do it that prevents certain horses, especially in class one, from just leveling up in insane amounts over a given week to where by the time it gets to the end of the event, it's just a farm fest for the week in the maiden. That's partly why I favor C2 and C3 at the moment. So I hope they think about that because it is just a lot more concentrated into the one event. If you're going to be paying out, I don't know, what did they announce a prize pool yet for the monthly maiden?
I don't think they did.
Say,
Hopefully, it's 4 times as much as the current, which I think is 15,000. I mean, even as
say
four
it's
times
50,
10,000.
50K is probably my
Yeah,
guess. So
40,
say it's
50, whatever it
50K.
is. Yeah, yeah.
I bet that's just that's a lot riding on one race, which in a way is nice, right? That's levels the playing field quite a bit. Anybody can win a single race. So
Which we saw with what was the class 4 horse that won our Zombie Arbitrage
I don't
Maiden? That
know.
was
I got to
insane.
check the
Joe
graphic
would
that was
know.
made.
Yeah, it was a
Hulk
cool
something.
graphic.
But that was exactly right though. That was a case in point of a big event where any horse could win it. I think it'd also be a cool way to kind of like have season type feel of like, okay, this is the January season, and because you're gonna have all these horses racing the maiden, and then that's gonna kind of be the cohort for the next month of less than 100 races. So you'll kind of get a feel for the types of horses that are your age, and then the next month in February it'll happen all over again. So I think it'll be a lot more structure and more logical flow for the game.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the answer is to somehow exclude horses with boosts on. Like, you can't boost your horse until 50 races or something like that, or something
Yeah,
like
just do a starting level maiden. Like it's
starting level
just
maiden. There you go. Yeah,
it
so you
they
can boost it all you want and still get that XP, and your level's going up, but
right.
it goes back to the starting level. I love that. I think that's
That's how
perfect.
you make that's how you make breeding matter more, and that's the whole issue we have with the leveling system right now is breeding doesn't matter because you can just pay to win basically or grind to win, and it takes the value away. So yeah, do starting level maiden. Maybe we stumbled on something.
I think that, yeah, I think you nailed it. Yeah. Yeah. Because we don't want to shut down the XP economy for these new horses either. More XP being bought, the better for everybody in the
Mhm.
game. And theoretically, better for Z token price, which I'm for. I have a lot of Z token. Everybody
Yeah,
buys Z token. Anyway, Kevin, I think we've hit most of the stuff we wanted to. If you have anything you want us to discuss more in depth, throw it in the comments on YouTube, and maybe I'll get Kevin to come back sometime after Christmas or in the new year, and hopefully we can start to do more YouTube shows. Even though Kevin, I don't know if I'm supposed to tell everybody, but Kevin's having a baby, so congrats to Kevin. I don't know if he's gonna have time for me anymore, but congrats to you guys having a baby in the year.
yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, not until April, so you've got me for a few more months. But then I don't know. We'll see. Keith does it right, so if he
Right.
can do it, I can do
He can do it. Yeah, I mean, he is a bot, but he's not the same level bot as you.
it. I'll optimize it better than him.
Yes, exactly. Okay, you got to run. I'll let you off. Thanks for giving us the time, Kevin. Thanks to everybody for listening. Like and subscribe to our YouTube show. Make sure you catch us over on Twitch and let us know if you enjoyed the show. All right, take it easy, Kevin.
Hey, buddy.